Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're going to be making ambrosia. Ambrosia is a fruit salad with kind of a cream dressing on it, and it's usually or almost always served at holiday dinners. You've probably had it even if you didn't know what it was. It's found at every church dinner and Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving. It's good for any of those times. But because it's a fruit salad and it's cold, it's a really good dessert for all summer long. For any of your get-togethers, you can make it ahead for cookouts and things like that. And it's just delicious. It's a simple, tasty recipe. So let's start with our ingredients. And ideally, in magical chef land, everything would be fresh. All your fruit, your coconut, everything. But in the real world where home cooks live, that just is not always possible. I mean, I would have to make a 3-hour round trip to find a grocery store that even had a fresh coconut. And my pineapple that I got the other day, I did find a pineapple locally. It is so green, it will be ready for me to use about Thanksgiving. But if you can get the fresh fruit, it has a much better flavor. And everybody knows that fresh is best when you have it. And you can use some fresh fruit and some canned fruit in it if you want. But what I have is I have a 20-ounce can of pineapple tidbits that I drained. You do want to drain all your fruit really well. And I have 2 small cans of mandarin oranges. I think they were about 10 ounces each, so about equal pineapples and oranges. I have 7 ounces of maraschino cherries that I also drained, and I cut those in half because I want them mixed in there a little more even. And I want to have the cherries kind of in every bite, not just a few cherries here and there. I have a 1.5 cups of shredded coconut, and any coconut will work. You can use sweetened or unsweetened. It's just kind of up to you. It's not going to change the recipe that much. I do kind of like the fine shredded stuff rather than the long shreds. I just like the texture better in this. And I have a 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. That's optional. If you don't want the nuts in it, don't put the nuts in it. It just adds a little texture, and I like it. Now for the dressing, we're going to make some fresh whipped cream. And I have about 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream or heavy cream. It's called different things. It's all the same, and you know, you can use whatever you find in the store. 1/2 and 1/2 doesn't really whip good though, so you do want either heavy cream or whipping cream. I have 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and we're going to whip that together. And I also have a 1/2 cup of sour cream for the dressing. Now, if you have Cool Whip, you can use Cool Whip instead of making this if you want to. You would want an 8-ounce tub. You can also substitute Greek yogurt or regular yogurt for the sour cream, or even vanilla yogurt would be really good in this. So there's lots of ways to change this. And quite honestly, I use about twice as much fruit as most of the recipes call for, because I like a little fruit, not just marshmallows. The other thing you need is 4 cups of mini marshmallows. That's about a 10-ounce bag, I believe. And you can use the regular ones like I have here, or for Easter, the little color ones would be really pretty. You know, they're kind of springtime colored anyway. So if you can find the little fruity colored ones, they'll work just fine in this too. It's just up to you. So let's start by mixing our coconut in with our marshmallows. And we'll go ahead and add our nuts. And like I said, if you don't want the nuts, they're optional. And our fruit. And my fruit has collected a little bit more juice in the bottom of it. You do want to avoid as much juice as possible in here. You want to keep it, you want to get it drained as well as you can. Because if there's too much juice in it, it's going to thin out your dressing and it won't be as good. And when you add in your pineapples, do the same thing with your oranges. Just kind of scoop them out. So if there's juice in the bottom here, you don't get it. If you're using fresh fruit too, once you've chopped it up, you do want to take the time to drain it because all the juice will thin it out a lot. And we are having some pretty bad storms. It stormed all night last night, and the wind is really, really bad right now. So if you hear a weird noise in the background, it's the weather. I hope it's pretty for Easter. Maybe if we have bad weather this week, next weekend it'll be really pretty. And go ahead and add your cherries. And you want to kind of toss this together. Okay, that looks pretty good. Here's a couple more little tips. It does help if you chill all of your fruit first, because if everything is warm and then you mix your whipped cream in it, it's really going to make your whipped cream kind of lose its body and fall flat. So just put your cans of fruit in the fridge like the night before you're going to make it or something so that it's chilled. We've made whipped cream in a lot of videos. We've even done a video just on how to make whipped cream. Whipped cream is really, really easy to make. Chill whatever you're making it in, and when I'm whipping up less than 2 cups, I always just chill a jar and put my cream in the jar, and I use my little hand mixer whisk thing. This is the handiest thing. It's a hand blender with a whisk attachment, and it's also got a little hand blender attachment on it. If you have a small kitchen, I definitely recommend one of these because you can do a lot of stuff with this, including whipped cream. Okay, you do want to whip your cream before you put anything else in it, before you add your sugar and your vanilla, and you just want to whip it until it's stiff like this. I mean, once it holds its shape, that's all you're trying to do. And it just takes a minute if everything is cold. Make sure you chill your jar, your bowl, whatever you're mixing it in, and make sure your cream is cold. You can put it in the freezer for a few minutes if you want to, but you definitely don't want to freeze it. Just chill it. Okay, and now go ahead and dump in your sugar. And you can use granulated sugar for this too. If you don't have powdered sugar, you would want to cut it down a little bit though, probably maybe 3 tablespoons. You want this a little bit sweeter than normal whipped cream because it's going to sweeten your salad. But 2 to 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And go ahead and add your teaspoon of vanilla. And then whip it again. And it just takes a second to mix in the sugar and the vanilla. Okay, once you've got your whipped cream made, all you're going to do is add your whipped cream and your sour cream in here. And then you're going to mix it up again. Just kind of fold this in. You don't need to mix the sour cream and whipped cream before you put it in the salad or anything like that. And you want to be kind of gentle and take your time because you don't want to lose all the air out of your whipped cream, or if you're using Cool Whip, you don't want to flatten it out completely either. And just mix it until it's evenly distributed. Now, you can make this a day ahead of time. It will be a little juicier if you make it a day ahead of time. You want to make it at least an hour or 2 before you're going to serve it, and put it in the refrigerator for that hour or 2 because that really lets the flavors mesh, and it gives the dressing time to take on the flavor of the fruit. And once you have it in the refrigerator chilled for an hour or 2, you can transfer it to individual dessert cups, or you can put it in kind of a pretty bowl and just serve it. And a lot of times this is not served as a dessert, it's served more as a side dish. Okay, that's all there is to making it. Just chill it and serve it. You might want to cover it while you put it in your refrigerator, you know, just to keep other smells and flavors from getting into it. But it's really, really simple. And like I said, you can make it the night before. If you're making it to take to somebody else's dinner, you might want to consider doing all fresh, because you'd have time to cut up the pineapple and time to peel the oranges and divide them into segments and stuff. Just use, little mandarin oranges in it. Cuties or something like that would be really good in it. Just anything like that. And you could maybe even find a fresh coconut and make your own coconut, grate it to go in it. But, it is much better with the fresh fruit. But like I said, in the real world, we can't always get the fresh fruit, and we don't always have time. If you're solely responsible for making a holiday dinner, taking the time to chop up pineapples and peel them and peel oranges and grate coconut probably is not something that you have, because you don't have a staff working with you to help do that kind of thing. So in the real world, canned fruit works just fine. I hope y'all try this recipe this Easter and, maybe hang on to it throughout the summer and use it, and take it to your holiday dinners next year during Thanksgiving and Christmas. Before we go, I want to share my mail with you. I got a few cards and letters this week. I actually got 2 cards from Sandy. She sent me a beautiful Easter card. And then, like the same day, I think, she mailed another one, or maybe it was the next day, and she sent me this pecan pie bundt cake recipe, which looks really, really good. And we need to get some breakfast cakes up, like coffee cake. That pecan pie bundt cake would be a really good one, and stuff like that. That's one of the things I'm working on, because that's recipes that we don't have yet. But thank you, Sandy, for the recipe and the Easter card. I certainly appreciate that, and I am going to try that. It looks super good. And then from Tammy, I got an Easter card with a very nice note in it. Thank you so much, Tammy. That is just beautiful. And I got another letter from Melinda in Texas. And Melinda is just such a sweet blessing. Like I said, she's a wonderful woman of God, and we are trying. I asked y'all to pray for her and her family in the last video when I mentioned her letter. We're trying to come up with a practical way to do a prayer list, because we get so many prayer requests, and there are so many of y'all who are willing to pray for one another. And we actually did that on a video back last fall. We did a prayer list around Thanksgiving, and there were hundreds and hundreds of requests, and I couldn't keep them all pulled up to the top. So we're trying to come up with a practical way to do that, so that you can not only request prayer, but you can pray for one another. And I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet, but we are working on that, because that is so very important as Christians. Not just to have people praying for you, but to be able to pray for other people. So y'all be praying about how we can do that, so that everybody can find the list, so that people can find the list to get on it, and so that people can find the list to pray for other people. I said, I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but I am sure God's going to give us a way. And I got another card. Need my glasses. This one is from Karen. And the card says, there are times when we have to lift our hands, raise our voices, and thank God for His blessings. And inside it says, Easter is one of those times. Easter is certainly one of those times when we need to be lifting our hands and praising God, and not worrying about what's going on in the world, because Easter is when Christians received their greatest blessing. Easter is when salvation began. I mean, without Easter, without Jesus' resurrection on Easter morning, we would not have the opportunity to receive forgiveness, to receive eternal life, and to be part of God's family. So Easter is certainly a time when we need to focus on God, and we need to focus on praising Him. And like I said, not on all this nonsense that's going on. So this Easter, ignore the world, focus on Easter, focus on Jesus, focus on what he did for us, and let's praise him and not worry about it. Take a break from the madness this Easter. I want to thank y'all so much for your letters, your cards, your very kind comments, and all of your encouragement. It really does make this worth doing, and it keeps us continuing to make the videos. You are all certainly among our blessings when we count our blessings. If you haven't already, please don't forget to click like and subscribe before you leave. And until next time, remember to put God first.